Hello everybody, E3 2019 is upon us, and I figured now would be a perfect time to do a channel vlog to update you guys on some of the stuff happening during summer on the channel, and also to talk about E3 in general. The game in the background is just normal WoW. I have a huge itch to play the WoW Classic beta, but I'm not in the actual beta, and it's killing me every single day. I go on to Battle.net and I look and it's not there. I'm like, why, Blizzard? Anyways, so let's talk about some of the stuff going on the channel and how that correlates to E3 stuff as well. As you may have noticed, we have gone through a successful testing period of making longer videos. I went from making about 15 to 20 minute videos to 30 to 40 minute videos. This has been a long sought after request for people on the channel who just like watching longer stuff and feel like the 15 to 20 minutes isn't enough to really show a lot in an episode. On top of that, the way we do our playthroughs, 40 minutes makes more sense because it shortens the actual playthrough time of a game. So imagine, the fact that we do really long games on the channel. We do a lot of big RPGs like Mass Effect and Dragon Age and The Witcher and stuff like that. And when you do 15 to 20 minute episodes, you tend to have like 100 episodes that go out, where as opposed to the new stuff that we've put out under this longer format has been much shorter. We finished Borderlands 1 in like 18 episodes, and we finished the Far Cry New Dawn in about that same amount of time. So it's pretty nice to be able to finish a single player game in less than 20 episodes. And multiplayer focused games like Borderlands that have the story elements also take about the same amount of time. So that is good news. We're going to continue doing that in the future. We've recently wrapped up a ton of series, right? Far Cry New Dawn and Borderlands are those, but we're also going to be starting new ones. So Borderlands 2, we will be starting here shortly on the channel and playing through. And I'm really excited for that because I think Borderlands 2 is a far superior game to Borderlands 1. Even with the enhanced edition, it's just better narratively, gameplay wise, everything. So I'm looking forward to jumping in that. I'm playing from start to finish. There is current rumors coming out of E3 that there is going to be new DLC dropping for Borderlands 2, which sounds crazy because of when it came out, but it will branch it'll bridge the gap between Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. We'll see if that's actually the case. If it is, we will do that DLC in our playthrough, because the reason we are doing these Borderlands playthroughs is, of course, to get to Borderlands 3. I'm still not sure about the pre-sequel, if we're going to do it or not, or if I'll do a mini-series on Tales from the Borderlands, but those are relevant, at least Tales of the Borderlands is, because it features characters from Tales of the Borderlands in Borderlands 3, so narratively wise, it might make sense. I have other things going in on the channel. One is Super Top Secret is taking a long time to make because it requires a lot of post-production and interesting, cool things to do, but I can't really talk about it until it's done. But I'll say long-term fans of the channel are going to be really happy that I've got something cool in the works, and that I'm pretty sure they're really going to love it. So other than that, we have something cool in the works, and Borderlands 2, and possibly something coming out of E3. There usually is some kind of surprise where there's always a game that launches during the E3 week, and I feel like we might get one of those this year. It'll be kind of awesome if we do, but at the very least, we're going to be getting some cool announcements for awesome games that are coming up throughout the rest of this year. For example, Doom Eternal. Absolutely going to do a playthrough of that. Doom is one of my favorite shooters of the past decade. They did such a good job on the game that came out in 2016, and I'm really looking forward to Doom Eternal. I cannot express enough how hyped I am for that game. Jedi Fallen Order, which we saw earlier today from uploading this video from the EA Play event, looks really good. I have some concerns about how interesting the main character just appears not to be, but the rest of the game looks good. You got awesome combat, and some cool Star Wars stuff. They're telling a story set directly after the events of Order 66, right after Star Wars Episode 3. So I'm looking forward to playing through that game and kind of seeing how that pans out. So those are 2 games that are likely coming out in 2019. Well, we know Doom Eternal definitely is. Jedi Fallen Order possibly is. We haven't got an announced date just yet, or a release date just yet. But those are 2 games that this year we will be doing playthroughs on. And you know what? The best part about doing longer playthroughs is we get to do more games on the channel because we're finishing games quicker. So definitely doing those 2 this year, definitely doing Borderlands 3, and we shall kind of see with everything else. There's a lot of other games out there that are rumored or looking to be announced for release this year that we may do. The biggest game coming out of E3, which has been my most anticipated game for quite some time now, is Cyberpunk 2077. I feel like that game is just the ultimate game for me. CD Projekt Red, the developers of The Witcher 3, came in and made a game based on the tabletop game Cyberpunk 2020, but now it's Cyberpunk 2077. And what they showed last year behind closed doors at E3, and then eventually showed everybody else in like a guided 48-minute long demo, was awesome. And that game looks right up my alley. It's a first-person RPG where you're in a massive sprawling cyberpunk city. Think Blade Runner or Ghost in the Shell, something like that. And you have a lot of choice over over the narrative of the game and how you play things out. It's like it's an amalgamation between The Witcher 3 and Deus Ex, and I think that combination is looking to be freaking awesome. On top of that, Cyberpunk is just in general, is my favorite setting. I love the dystopian future stuff. It's why I like Blade Runner so much. It's why I like movies such as Ex Machina, which if you haven't seen, you really should. It's super good. It's not like cyberpunk in the traditional sense of, something like Blade Runner, but it does have cyberpunk themes, and I love that movie. And that setting is just my favorite. So to get a game that is of top quality from a studio that is doing really awesome things, I cannot wait for that. And I cannot wait to hear what is going on as far as the release date. Hopefully they give us a release date. I'm expecting it to be around this time next year. And if that is the case, again, we're going to do a freaking playthrough of it, and it's going to be awesome. Speaking of cyberpunk stuff, I had announced back in December that I was working on my own tabletop RPG set in the cyberpunk universe. Well, I needed to take some time off from that because personally I had a lot of stuff going on and I needed a reinvigoration creatively. But the good news is I've recently got that, and I've recently got additional time to start working on it. And I'm happy to say that within the next month and a half, I'm shooting about a month, but it's likely to be a month and a half just because of stuff that I have to plan for over the next, month, that I'm going to get an alpha version out to everybody. So a public alpha version out where you can download it and be able to actually start playing it if you really want to. Or alternatively, and this is the reason I'm putting it out there, is to be able to join our test Discord server and come help me test the game, which would involve signing up for a test session, being like, yes, I'm interested, at this time that you're going to be doing a test, joining us in Discord, joining us in Roll20, which is where we're going to be testing the game because it's easiest to play the game online through there with the way I have it set up. And that's a free account, so you don't really have to worry about paying any money for anything like that too, which is really nice. But jumping in and being able to actually sit down and play the game with me and learn how it plays and test things out and provide feedback to me so I can go back to the drawing board on some things, or even go and improve different things I'm getting feedback on. So generally just developing the game. So the idea is to, again, get the alpha version out that is pretty massive compared to the first version that I got out to my original private testers, and being able to get people playing the game, talking about it, and giving me feedback on it so I can then iterate and just create this living game alongside the people who are interested in playing it. So if you're interested in that, keep an eye on the channel for the next month. You're going to hear something soon about it, but put a comment in the comments below That way I have a list of people who are interested, and I will probably talk to you soon. I will send a message to you guys soon, or actually better yet, if you get a hold of me on Twitter, this is strangely a better way to do it. Go to @OSWguild on Twitter, send me a message, and then I can private message you updates to all of this and give you invites to our test Discord. So when testing actually goes live for this version, you could jump right in. That's the best way to do it rather than just waiting for a video to upload, because you'll get information a lot sooner about all that. So this is exciting for me because I know that on the channel we have a lot of people who are interested in tabletop RPGs, whether it be D&D or Star Wars or elsewhere. And I feel like this game in particular is aimed at people who are interested in tabletop RPGs and want to get their friends into it and want to be able to teach them quickly and have a cool setting that they're not like, oh, that's super nerdy. They could be like, oh, that's really cool, and feel pretty badass playing a tabletop RPG, which is something that is still, even with, things going on with Critical Role and all that, still quite a bit of a stigma for people. So hopefully that will be interesting to you. Otherwise, don't worry about it. It's just another cool thing that we're doing on the channel. Oh, hey, and before I forget, the game itself is called Synthetic Neon, which seems like a jumble of words, but it actually makes a lot of sense within the context of the narrative of the game, which you will learn about when I put the version out there. So with that out of the way, let's talk a little bit more about E3. If you don't actually, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, if you don't know what E3 is the Electronic Arts Gaming Expo that happens every year down in LA, mostly down in LA. It's kind of sprawled out in Hollywood now with EA doing their own thing, but it's one of the biggest gaming events of the year where people go and announce their games. Think like Gamescom, if you're in Europe, that's the biggest in the world. But E3 is the biggest in North America, and it is usually where a lot of hardware is announced, like a new Xbox or a new PlayStation, stuff like that. And it's often where we see some of the biggest title announcements. So I'm really looking forward to E3. I'm covering it as a pundit for Gamepedia. So for those of you who don't know, I was the community manager for Diablo Fans. But Diablo Fans, which is owned by Curse, recently had to close its doors, so I was moved over as a freelance writer for Gamepedia, and I've been doing that since about December, the end of December. And this is the first actual website that I get to cover E3 on, and I'm really excited for that. I don't know why they chose me out of everybody else, but hey, I'm excited for anything that's going on with that. So being able to watch this E3 stuff and analyze it on a different degree has been really fun and exciting. So personally for me, I find this E3 different than the rest because of all of the changes. You have Sony not being there to do a press conference, which traditionally they have been. You have Xbox really upping their game and having a lot of cool announcements and having more space to talk about it because Sony isn't there. You have Kinda Funny coming in and doing their game showcase, which is going to feature quite a few small games, but is something that they did back in November, December for the Game Awards of last year. But it was really cool and people really seem to enjoy that, so I'm looking forward to seeing what is shown on their small little stream. And of course you've got the PC gaming show, which is expanding this year and doing some more cool things like showing off Baldur's Gate 3, which, by the way, totally a game we're doing on the channel. Baldur's Gate had a really big effect on me as a kid and how I got into RPGs. And I mean, without Baldur's Gate, we wouldn't have games like Dragon Age. So I think that game is really important to me. And I can't wait to see what Baldur's Gate 3 ends up being, especially with Larian working on it, which is the studio who made Divinity Original Sin 2, Divinity Original Sin, all the Divinity games. And I can't wait to see what they do with Baldur's Gate. I think they are the perfect company. Out of every company out there right now, they are the perfect company to be working on Baldur's Gate 3. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, that's being shown more at the PC Gaming Show. But overall, there's some really cool stuff that is coming down the pipeline this year. We have interesting hardware with the Google Stadia, which is like a streaming service. Think, cloud gaming where you stream the game from a really powerful PC that you don't own, in some data server, to whatever crappy PC you currently have at your house, and you're able to play the game in the highest settings at a high resolution if you have good internet. And it's an interesting setup that they have going. If anybody's going to make it work, it's Google. They have the money and the infrastructure to make that happen. I'm just not very confident that it won't continue to have lag issues. You know, this is always the problem with a streaming service such as Stadia, is you always have some kind of lag in between when you're getting the data and when you input the controls, which go back to the data server and then put that data back to the game that's just coming back to you. It's just always going to have some kind of delay. But if they can reduce it enough where it's not noticeable, then, you know, maybe it'll be a pretty good service. We'll see how that ends up working out. But Xbox obviously is working on their own streaming service. They have Game Pass, which has been announced to be coming to PC, which I'm actually excited for, because Game Pass is a really freaking good deal and has a lot of cool games on it. And if that comes to PC in a big way, like, you can already sign up for Game Pass on Microsoft and get some of the games on there, like Sea of Thieves, right? If you're a first-time person signing up to Game Pass, you can get Sea of Thieves on your computer for $1 for 3 months. And I think that that is really cool, and I can't wait to see what they're going to expand that into. And then also Xbox is working on the next Xbox, which I don't think is going to be a massive improvement to the Xbox One X, but, you know, if you're a console gamer, it's exciting. And Microsoft is making a bigger push to having all of the games that they publish on Xbox also be on PC. They just need to really fix their store. And if they make announcements of that, then I would be way happier with some of the games they're putting out. You know, don't get me wrong. Xbox puts out awesome first-party games when they do it right. But in recent years, they haven't. And they've recently acquired a ton of really good studios to make first-party games. So there's exciting things happening there. And just in the gaming industry in general, there's exciting things happening during E3. I'm looking forward to any kind of surprise announcement, because over the past few days, a lot of stuff has been leaked, and it's unfortunate because that kind of removes some of that hype for these press conferences, like the Ubisoft press conference, which, by the way, rumored to have a Rainbow Six game being announced, I think called Rainbow Six Containment or Contagion or something like that, and is supposedly kind of based on the Outbreak mode that they had hit Rainbow Six Siege, which I have been saying since last year felt like it was a test bed for something. And if it actually comes out to be a real game that they're releasing, I'm going to be so happy because I called it. And I think that that would be definitely a kind of game that I jump into. So, you know, between Xbox and Ubisoft and the PC conference and even Square Enix showing Final Fantasy VII Remake and stuff like that, it's going to be good E3. And there's obviously a lot of really cool games coming to PC that we will do gameplay of. We will do some kind of playthrough of, you know, Baldur's Gate 3 and Cyberpunk 2077 and Doom Eternal and Borderlands 3. So there's some cool stuff coming to the channel. And of course, if you guys see something during E3 that you're like, I would love to see Zen play that, hit me up, send me a comment either on this video or on Twitter or on other videos. It doesn't really matter. I'll see it, and I will take that stuff into consideration. But at this moment, we have a couple things coming up to the channel. You know, Borderlands 2. We have Synthetic Neon coming out as a testable tabletop game for you guys if that's something you're interested in. And of course, I've got a secret project I've been working on for like the last week and a half. And those of you who are astute will know probably what it is. Otherwise, you're just gonna have to wait until the first episode of it comes out, hopefully before the end of the month. It's taking a long time to make because I'm putting a lot of production effort into it, and I'm making the entire series from start to finish before I put it out, so that way I know it's finished and I could just show it to you guys, you know, one episode at a time, but have it all done and not have to really worry about it too much. With all that being said, let me know what your guys' most excited things are for this E3. Are you looking forward to any cool game announcements, or the games that you are looking forward to? What are they? And also, are you interested in Synthetic Neon? If you're interested in testing that, again, get a hold of me either on YouTube or on Twitter. Those are the two easiest ways, and I will get you hooked up when the time comes to actually start playing that game with us and with other people, of course. But with all of that being said, our summer is going to be jam-packed, full of busyness, and there's some cool stuff coming up on the channel now that we finished a couple of series of ours, and we shall see you guys next time.